The following is a TPC Network podcast.
Yo.
Yes, Nathan.
I thought to myself one day that there would be dimes and dimes a dozen, yet there's nothing to which I can see that's not... What?
Are you talking about the wishing well?
Oh, yeah. How did you know?
Because we always talk about the wishing well every Saturday evening.
Is this Saturday?
It's Saturday, but you're listening to this on Monday.
That's kind of strange, isn't it?
It is. It's like you wouldn't think that, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of think things, but you don't think things, but it's kind of in the background. It's kind of like it's like you're conscious, but kind of like
Yeah, it's like you're not, but you are.
Yeah. Wait, unconscious. That's like when people get knocked out.
I get knocked down, but I get up again.
Good.
Chumbawamba. Play the intro.
Welcome back. I am your host, Pepin, and this is Meader right here.
I'm a person that happens to be in the room.
Yes, and what's interesting is Meader was telling me that Chumbawamba is a song by a band named Tubhead.
Tub Thumping is a song by the band Chumbawamba.
So apparently it's a joke there I didn't get.
It wasn't even a joke. It was just a reference, but you lost it. So I'm like, oh, he gets it. And then you're like, I don't even know. That was so random. I'm like, that's the name of the band.
Yeah.
Oh, my, Nathan. So anyway, speaking of Chumbawamba.
Today's topic is the unconscious mind.
I think unconsciously you knew Chumbawamba. And that's what made you laugh about it.
I don't know. Like, I think it's just so random, but maybe.
I think you knew you've heard it before, but you didn't remember that you had heard it before.
Perhaps. I don't know song names very well, though. Like, I'm more just like, yeah, that song that was playing. I usually know, like, where it is on the album, not so much where, or what it's called, unless it's, like, the name of the song is in the thing, which is obvious. But I do agree with you that there's often things that we, like, know but don't quite know on the conscious level. And, like, sometimes I know things about people that I really shouldn't, like, I don't, like, I know it, but I don't know it. Like, I won't say exploit it, but I kind of act in a way around this person where I shouldn't be acting like that because I don't know for certain that they are like that or that this fact about them is true, but somehow I know it internally.
Are you talking about your gaydar?
That's an example right there. That's an example. Like, sometimes you meet people and you kind of just know, like, instantly, okay, yeah, they're gay.
What gave it away?
What gives it away with people?
Yeah.
It's sometimes just, I don't know. It's kind of unconscious, right? I mean, you can come up with reasons after the fact sometimes, like, oh yeah, he was into these TV shows or he was doing this. Sometimes they're just a little bit too well groomed in certain ways, like.
Speaking of which, you look great today. You've maintained your hair really well. Your clothes are on point. Your fashion sense has doubled, tripled, quadrupled from where it was.
Oh, thank you. So, to continue on with this, there's all these, like, subtle, like, hints that we see, and I think some scientists say that, like, 90% of our functioning or 95% of our, like, thought process is unconscious, like, it goes beneath the surface. Like, the beliefs and attitudes we hold towards people are just, like, it's just what we see on an instant. We're like, oh, yeah, this is what this person is. And, of course, we're surprised sometimes, but a lot of times we're right. Like, I think you're telling me you're kind of instinctive with how you see people a lot of times.
I don't know about that. I don't think that's the case. I think that
when we rephrase this, I remember a conversation like way back. I was like in college.
I don't. Maybe I've changed.
Maybe. You're talking about whether I think there's somebody you thought you couldn't trust. And you're like, I can tell when I don't trust someone. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's a completely different story than being able to judge a person just by meeting them. Like, I guess it depends on how you're looking at judging somebody.
yeah. So let's make this more general. So
Why don't we just keep all this whispering in? It'll be charming, like we're having a real fucking conversation.
we're having real conversation. We always have real. Okay.
Well, I don't know. We have this little air about us, and I posted this in Face Punch, and that was the like only criticism that we got was like the show they didn't feel worked quite like a radio show, and we kind of have like a radio format, but because the format was radio, it didn't work as just having us have a general conversation type podcast would work. We're like right in the middle, and it doesn't please either side.
Mm.
So I don't know if we break down the walls some and just like care less about the what we would call, you know, the quality, but at the same time you could also call it a lot of red tape that might hold us back some.
Mm. Yeah, maybe. Okay. I think it's important to frame things, but at the same time, well, it was
This conversation right here is just so meta that if it stays in the episode, it's such a revealing of like pulling back the curtain.
Mm. Yeah. I don't know. I'm also tired as well, so.
Well, that's fair. You've been up since 2 a.m.
So it's my memory is not that great, or I not mispull, but kind of misattribute things to.
Well, you often remember things that I just don't remember because my memory is really bad, and you remember these things like with clarity and like you know they happen. Sorry, hit the mic. So like it's not uncommon that that's the case.
Yeah. Well, also there's that thing where you generalize from like one instance, like you know you see someone trip and fall somewhere and. You're like, oh man, that person's clumsy. You know, only one instance of them actually tripping and falling and being clumsy. But you know, now to me, it's like, man, you've like tripped and fall. You trip and fall all the time, man.
Yeah, and you're basing everything off of this one time, and you're saying a lot of that happens on an unconscious level.
Yeah. You know, I would say so. I mean, there's also the conscious level there, like the internals of that person who tripped and fell. If I trip and fall, I'm like, oh man. Like my shoelaces were untied. I should really like, you know, do that. Or, oh man, I'm so tired. Or hurt my leg at the gym yesterday. It kind of sucks. Or, man, someone should have picked up that ice on the floor. But you watch somebody else trip and fall. There's none of that there. There's no like self-attribution to that happening besides that person's a klutz. Unless they're old, in which case they're just falling apart.
I mean, I don't. I feel like I don't have those. I don't do that much generalizing like that. Like, if I see someone trip and fall, I don't assume one way or the other. I don't assume that they're just clumsy. I wouldn't assume that unless I saw a pattern of a bunch of tripping and falling. The other day, I was walking into work, walking on relatively flat ground, and for whatever reason, my ankle buckled, and I just fell over and was laying flat on my back staring up at the sky. There was no reason why that should have happened. That pretty much never happens, but in this instance it did. I looked like a fucking idiot. And you could assume that happens all the time, but the reality of the matter is that it doesn't. That was just a fluke incident. So I mean, I guess it depends on who, like, how you attribute things to people. What do you make generalizations such as I see this one thing happen and I assume it happens all the time? Or do you not? Do you assume the opposite? That was a one-time thing unless I see it happen over and over, and then I start to call it a pattern.
Yeah, I guess there's a inclination to make generalizations very quickly. Part of my own personal belief is I need to educate myself on biases like that because I'm very prone to making them. And so I find myself not making generalizations so fast because I know I will make generalizations very fast of people.
So your natural inclination is to make assumptions and to generalize, but because you're aware of it, you're able to dictate that you don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Or as much.
I think, well, I see myself often as being a jerk, which is my own perception because me kind of going like being a bit more aggressive to me is just being a jerk, but to other people, it's not me being a jerk at all. So it could be the case that maybe I'm not so bad with generalizations, but the fact that now I'm more aware of when I'm generalizing or when I'm doing that, it seems like I am more than I am. But it's also maybe the case that I was very much like that, and now that I'm more aware of these kind of human behavior patterns, that it's not such an issue.
Quantum mechanics is fascinating.
Yeah, quantum mechanics is very fascinating, and the Schrodinger's cat,
Schrodinger's horse.
Can you find water?
If you put it in a box, will it find water? Yes and no, technically.
And that's one of the unconscious kind of things that we're very good at ourselves, is kind of free association, which is something that Freud kind of came up with. Like, kind of Nietzsche as well, but Freud was very big into like free association, seeing what came up in the mind. So it's like I say a word and you kind of go off of it. And you kind of, there's something we did back in college a lot.
Yeah, like how do things connect in the brain? What things connect to other things that aren't really related in any way, but through your own subjective experience, have that connection in your brain. Or sometimes they are related and you make those connections because they're so related. And a lot of times that happens in ways that can be seen as offensive or as generalizing, when that's just how things are in an objective manner.
It's always something that really fascinates me with so for those who aren't aware, Steve is a rapper, or he's made a lot of rap songs, which I found very impressive. His lyrics are very, very good in my opinion, and I'm not great with lyrics. I can be good with certain things, like certain catchy things, but I'm not very good with lyrics. And I was asking Steve how he comes up with his lyrics, and Steve was saying that he doesn't really think about it. It kind of comes out. It's almost like a free association, I think, in a way. And there's all these kind of like interconnectedness to his lyrics, and it's very strange that comes out. And for me, it's just his unconscious kind of mind is working on it. But can you describe that process?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. Every song's a little different, so sometimes I'll just think of randomly. I'll pop into my head a line that sounds really cool, like I was thinking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and I said 4 equestrians of misery, and like I just liked the way that sounded. So then I was like, wow, how the heck can you like use that in any way? And trying to think of things that might rhyme together, but I don't just want to rhyme the last word. I want to try and rhyme multiple words in the same line. So 4 equestrians of misery, the quest begins in mystery, and just like letting it unfold from there, trying out different rhymes, seeing where it goes, and then eventually it just like all kind of just keeps coming and tumbling out. So I'm not sure myself sometimes how the association happens. There was a time that I wrote something just like completely spur of the moment. Like there was no thinking about it. I was just writing straight through. And it ended up being like something about how the Bible could be a good guide, but people don't let it be a good guide. Instead, they let it turn them in the opposite direction, and it's kind of the opposite of what the original intent of the Bible was.
That process is so strange, and how things just can pop out. I used to write a lot of music, and again, my lyrics weren't the best. I don't think some of the lyrics were that bad, but looking back at a lot of the lyrics I was writing, there was kind of as my way of dealing with personal struggle and kind of the things I was going through. But I was kind of aware at the time I was exploiting certain things. Like, I had this whole thing with my girlfriend not wanting me to smoke weed at the time. I used to smoke weed. And so I wrote a song about it because I thought it'd just be kind of funny funny might be the word, but kind of funny to exploit this kind of little personal drama going on in my life. And that's what my motivation was at the time. But looking back on it, that was actually my way of dealing with it. And the only way I could deal with it and write about it was kind of making like a comical kind of exploitation of emotions and a circumstance.
So like unconsciously you were taking something that was seriously affecting you on we'll say an emotional level, and twisting it in a way that lets you deal with it through comedy.
Yeah. It's the only way I could allow myself to express myself in that kind of way to the public. I posted a song like in public forums and stuff, but people don't really care that much. But the only way I could do that was to express it as if it was sardonic or kind of this kind of funny exploitation of emotion.
And how do you feel it came out?
The song?
Yeah.
A little cheesy.
Yeah. Was it cathartic in a way though?
Maybe. I don't know. It definitely dealt. I didn't really think about the issue after I made the song.
Okay, fair enough. Did you stop smoking weed?
For a little bit.
Oh, was this at college?
Well, no, maybe no. This was after the summer years, so it was a little after college.
You mean your album, The Summer Years?
Get the summer years,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, winter is coming.
Oh shit! I had an album called The Summer Years. It was great. There's Awkward Dinosaur,
Oh my god, that's an amazing song.
and then after the summer years, I made Oven Mitts with Steve, which is great. Song.
That's a great single.
And then
Actually, I was listening to some of our old episodes when we were I was doing the best of first 15 episodes.
Yeah.
And Oven Mitts was played at the end of one of the songs, and I forgot how fucking great that song is.
it's pretty good.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's got me singing in it too, and that's probably the best thing I've done, like on record.
No, I definitely enjoy that song. I think we worked very well together on that project. We actually finished that project, unlike a lot of our other projects.
Right.
Most of the time, that's my fault. I take credit on that one. Credit, blame, whatever.
My creative endeavor, or the way I work creatively a lot, is I don't really think about things, or I don't know. It's kind of weird because I have ideas a lot of times, and I have hypotheses.
That sounds right.
Okay, hypotheses, and also just ideas that kind of float around in the back of my head. There's not a whole lot of thinking going on in my conscious brain. Like, I'll often just like kind of like, I should think about this thing. I should figure this out. And then I was like, okay, brain, figure it out. Like, not literally like that, but like I was like, I need to think about this, or I'll think about this. And I can kind of like peel back the curtain a little bit and kind of like see that I'm thinking about it, and I can see there's work going on it. And I'll get little like kind of revelations or thoughts throughout the day or throughout the week and stuff. But it's not like I'm really thinking about anything at any time. It's all like unconscious for me. Like it's kind of like that process of I don't know if anybody can relate to this exactly, but let's say you're trying to remember somebody's name and you can't remember the name. Like, oh shit, it's on the tip of my tongue. And then you remember it like, weeks later. Like, oh fuck, it was John Ostrich.
Yeah. I know John.
And some people, like, they don't realize they're thinking about that person's name in the background, but I'm kind of aware I'm thinking about that person's name in the background. It's going to come out eventually.
That's interesting, the idea of like exactly what you're saying, when sometimes you're thinking of something, trying to think of something, and it's right there on the tip of your tongue, and then when you stop thinking about it, that's when you're actually able to think about it again, or actually get the answer again.
Well, it's like thought processes and stuff like that, they're not always linear. I think we put too much emphasis on linearity with our thought processes and thinking, because it's like our conscious mind is very good at kind of, flashlights, like a flashlight. It can focus on this one single thing, kind of do step-by-step procedures. Whereas a lot of the thinking we have to do is like, it's more like a spider web, or like this, kind of going through every possibility in our mind and kind of figuring out the best possibility, which is, there. And that takes a lot of like, it's more like a outward kind of traveling as spider webs in multiple paths. And I think a lot of our social thinking, so a lot of our social interactions and how we interface with people is done through that kind of stuff. So with the best way, like I find myself, I don't get into many conflicts with people, but when I do, I will think out every little thing they could say, every possible interaction, and I'll be arguing with that person in my head for like days. Like everything I could say to them, everything they would say back to me, and I've mapped out every combination that could be out there. Of course, it's not every combination, but every combination I can think about with this person's simulation in my head. And it kind of drives me crazy a little bit, because it's just like, stop thinking about this, but I can't. It's always going under the hood.
No, I definitely do that too. But I don't do like every possible combination. Instead, I just try and do the most likely couple that specific person, by me knowing that person, will probably bring up. And then how I can help steer the conversation in a, most of the time, in a less conflicting way if possible. Like, what does that person need in order to satisfy the argument for them, versus what do I need to satisfy it for me? Because all I care is that it's like the argument's over, because most of the time arguments are stupid miscommunications.
Yeah. Would you say there's more of a? It sounds like there's more of a conscious direction there.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that like it unconsciously creeps into my head to like all of these possible conversations, but once it's there, like the way that I get rid of that unconscious thought plaguing me is by consciously thinking it out and saying, okay, so this is it. The conversation's probably gonna go one of three ways. Option one, here's here's the entire conversation and how it will go. Option two, option three, and then it's gone from my unconscious mind, and I can unconsciously think about other things that may be less stressful to think about.
Right. I think I've used that method unconsciously, because sometimes when something's really bothering me, it's like I just give like 2 or 3 outcomes, and I'm like, so either this outcome happens, and let's say I'm having an issue with a friendship, and unexpectedly this is naturally an issue I'm having, just why I'm bringing it up. But let's say I'm having an issue with a friendship, and this friendship might be ending, because of these complications. So there's like 3 different outcomes. I could lose this friendship, number 1. Number 2, this friendship could kind of stay there, but it'd be a little bit muddled. Or I could, repair this friendship. And there's 3 different options, and I could be all fine with all 3, but, ultimately, how do I want to end this? And ultimately, I have to be okay with losing this friendship in the end if, I want to maintain myself and my self-integrity. So instead of putting all this effort into thinking, I'm just like, okay, I have to be okay with ending this because it's not worth it.
So are you saying you're taking the path of least resistance?
It's
or you're setting yourself up for the worst possible outcome?
It's more like I'm setting myself up. It's more like I'm setting myself up for the worst possible outcome, also the most probable outcome. So it's like the time and effort required to kind of repair a friendship is very, very high, and also the value gained from keeping a friendship maintained where there's all these issues is not worth it. Like it's like having let's say you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, and it's a rocky relationship. It's not that good. It's often best to just end it, because there might be goods, there might be highs, there might be lows, but it's not that great. There's mistrust, there's issues, there's things which too much history. So it's just best off to end it. You could possibly repair that relationship with say therapy, counseling, or good talks, or boundary setting, all this kind of stuff, but is it really worth it to do that? I mean, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, and is this person really that valuable to you as a friend? So ultimately, I'm just, the ultimate kind of step is just losing that friend.
Sounds like a very, very abstract and difficult calculation to make.
It is.
How much is a person worth to you as a friend?
Well,
that's near impossible to have to decide on.
You also have to ask the question: how much have you seen this person, outside of these circumstances? Were you really there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, which is why it's one of those things where my brain, when it has a problem to solve, it puts all of its resources onto that problem. And so if I'm trying to figure out a solution to making this friendship work, there's too many possible ways to think about that. And I'll put like almost all my effort into solving that. And if I go into how can I just maintain this friendship without really addressing these problems, there's also so much cognitive power there. But if I just say, okay, fuck it, let's just end it because it's too complicated. I mean, that's if I put the end right there, it's a lot easier to deal with, like on a cognitive level, unconscious level. I don't find these thoughts really popping up in my head. Besides when it comes on for the podcast here, in which case it's an example of something.
Right. And yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to come off that little conversation right there, the little tirade or whatever it was. But it's, I think I've made this analogy before with Odysseus and the sirens, and Odysseus sees these sirens, and they're calling to him, and they're so beautiful because I guess the tales are people just will dive into the water and get drowned alive by these sirens because they're so awesome. So he wanted to hear them, but people are like, "No, Odysseus, you can't do that because you're gonna go there and drown." It's like, no, tie me up to the shaft.
Mast.
The shaft is the
Tie up my shaft. Let's do this.
Was that Freudian slip? Tie me up to the Well, it's kind of like a dick shape.
Very phallic.
Yeah. Tie me up to the mast of the ship, and I want to hear it, and don't cut me loose no matter what. And so he did it, and he survived. But the whole thing with that, the whole kind of unspoken story to that, or lesson from that, is you got to know your boundaries and know your limitations. And one of his limitations is he knows that he's gonna go down and drown, with these sirens if he can hear, if he's not tied up. So he ties himself up. In a similar way, I know I'm gonna kill myself with thought if I don't come to some kind of emblematic solution to this problem. And it's gonna be so much cognitive power that I'm just gonna end it in my mind.
I would imagine that doesn't make it any easier necessarily, though.
No. But life isn't easy. Shit is shit.
That's true.
Which is it's. I mean, one thing which I've kind of delved in a little bit is kind of not Buddhism, but mindfulness. I mean, mindfulness practice has a lot to do with Buddhism in a lot of ways. It's kind of inspired a lot by that kind of stuff. But being aware of your emotions, feelings, and kind of unconscious desires and kind of things underneath, and kind of accepting that, sometimes shit's tough. I mean, sometimes life is like that. Like, I might have these kind of feelings of so shitty, I'm so tired, and blah, 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 blah. But it's being okay that you're feeling that, and just kind of pushing through it. I'm sure you get these undertones of just kind of being tired and not wanting to do things, and kind of like, oh man, do I have to do this today? But you kind of just push through it, and you kind of put your conscious level kind of above that.
Above the feeling of not wanting to do something.
Yeah. Like, I'm just gonna push through this day. I'm just gonna do it, and then it may take like a little while for your body to catch up with you that day, but your body eventually catches up with you. And
you're inspirational, Nate.
No.
Very Nike-esque. Just do it.
That was my motto back in the day.
Well, there you go. And then Nike stole it.
Yeah. Well, no, I stole it from Nike.
Mikey stole it, and then Nike took it from Mikey.
Oh, fuck Nike.
Yeah, nobody liked him.
Fucking dick.
But, you are what you eat.
Is that why dicks are dicks?
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it. It's all about non sequiturs.
Non sequiturs are great though, because it's a great way to like segue from thing to thing. And speaking of segues, we actually have a partnership with, what's that ad? The comic book
Segways.com. No. They're a new sponsor as of right this second.
What's the thing where it's like the comic book thing?
Which one? The comic Hunter in Charlottetown.
Okay, let's segue to that.
All right, we'll go to commercial.
We're doing that. No, we're gonna do the ad. They're like live.
Oh, we're doing the ad live?
Yeah.
I don't know the. Hey guys, do you like comic books? Do you like board games? I love them. I like to play them at the day and read them at the night time. Come on down to Comic Hunter in Charlottetown. That's in Canada town. Maybe gotta get yourself a good hot comic book. Pop that bad boy in your den take a seat, pop squat, open it up to the good pages and read all about the warriors and wizards of ye olden time. Or maybe you like the futuristic robots and other fancy technologies gonna have to give a good read to those ones. My favorite's the superhuman strength of Wonder Woman and how she saves the day with her lasso of truth, which is my special power too. But enough about my dick. How about you, Nate?
I can't pull off Rick and Morty like that.
That's not Rick and Morty.
It's like Rick and Morty-esque. It's like
I guess kinda.
It's like the same kind of.
Oh, like when they're watching TV?
Yeah.
Yeah, future TV.
Yeah, it's like the improv there.
How they make a plumbus.
My favorite comic book must be Attack on Titan.
Oh, is that a graphic novel or a comic?
It's like a manga.
Yeah, same thing.
But well, they have like the little compilation novels, like, so you consider it there. I mean, graphic novel. But Attack on Titan, it's not based on the show because the show is based on the manga.
Mm-hmm.
But the manga is actually very good. Like, I've had these weird experiences where, like, I was thinking about the show after reading the manga, and then it's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. That didn't happen on the show. Like, but it's clearly animated in my head, such to a point where I'm like, I thought it happened on the show because my mind has created this whole kind of like a visual representation of it, where I can imagine the actors saying the lines, I can imagine the animation, all these things going on. This has never happened to me before. My imagination's not that good. So the manga's that good. It creates this world and these characters and these plots, and it just kind of animates it in your mind. So the manga, it's very, very good. It's just, you read it. It also just, it's kind of Game of Thrones-y. So the whole kind of show is kind of like Game of Thrones in Japan, I guess. Japanese Game of Thrones. And then less so, but there's political intrigue, political sabotage. There's this whole mystery about what's behind the wall, what these titans are about, and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting, very, very satisfying to read.
So Nate's personal suggestion is Attack on Titan on Cartoon Network.
No, the manga.
Oh, the manga on Cartoon Network.
No, it's like...
Watch it on Crunchyroll. They're not a sponsor.
It's not the anime, the manga.
The animated manga on Hot Topic t-shirts.
Did it sell that soon?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Actually,
Somebody Google that and send me a picture.
Can't you Google it yourself?
No. Send me a picture. I'm too busy reading the manga on Nick at Night.
Fresh Prince was great.
Oh, Fresh Prince.
In West Philadelphia, born. But
is that the Willard Smith? Willard, yes.
Carlton Banks was on there.
Oh, Carlton Smith.
And then there was that guy who, Trevor, he died.
Phil?
No.
Trevor?
Yeah, Trevor. The news lady's boyfriend.
I didn't watch Attack on Titan.
Ah, damn it. Well, Attack on Titan was a great show.
Actually, I did watch it.
Until they brought in Louis Farrell.
Is that Will Ferrell?
No, Louis.
Lewis and Clark?
Well, Lewis and Clark explored America for a while, and then they decided, fuck this shit, let's go to Japan.
Yeah, and that was around the same time that Chris Farley and that guy from Friends were trying to race Lewis and Clark to the coast.
But he was being a ninja, which makes sense because he was actually visiting China. But China wasn't so much into ninja shit, Japan was, which is why he actually starred in that movie about ninjas, like Beverly
Hills Cop, starring Robert Downey Jr. and a light post.
And didn't Charles Manson have like this integral part where he employed his powers of musical genius to describe the human condition?
Well, in a way, I mean, he was more about Atwa than anything. And it's very fascinating. I surmise that Charles Manson is actually Satan incarnate, but because he's locked up, Satan's had to work his way through other people. But it's just such a mainstay of what I believe Satan would be all about. And that's like humans are killing the world, and Charles Manson is the world in a sense. I feel like the devil is the earth, is the life force of the earth.
So in a way, the devil is what tempts people into sin. So it's the sin around you, which, let's put it this way. So the earth around you is the temptation, and the sin is taking into the temptation, which is the earth. And the heavenly pursuit is within yourself. And this is why Satan cheats on, he doesn't cheat on someone. It's like Saddam. No, Saddam cheats on Satan with Phil.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know, they have dildos for some reason. I got satanic dildos.
Yeah, and they go to where are they supposed to go? Detroit. That's definitely a good movie. It's my favorite manga that I've ever read.
Well, you should have seen the graphic novel.
Oh, I tried to watch the graphic novel, but I didn't have Crunchyroll, so I just ended up having to read the manga instead.
Manga. You know, ma and ga are 2 words. If you say them like that.
Ga is not a word. Unless you're a young babe.
No. It's like
Not the pig in the
ga.
sun.
I can't do it.
That's an exclamation, and that's an obscure exclamation. It's not even like a real one.
Onomatopoeia.
No, that's a different. Well, maybe. Maybe it is onomatopoeia.
Well, I think it's also another word out there where it's like pow. Why did I have to punch my crash? So well, crash is a word though.
Yeah, so is pow.
Is it?
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Like pow wow.
A chew.
A chew would be like a great name for like somebody in like East Asia who's like learning taekwondo.
It's a great name for a Pokemon.
A Pokemon?
Yeah, you put them in the balls and you carry them around with you, and then you make them battle other chews.
Oh, I get you. So it's like Digimon.
Exactly like Digimon, just like Yu-Gi-Oh.
And there's like the watches, and then it's time to
Yeah, and then you pull it back, and they spin around in that little bowl together, and they crash into each other.
Dude, I was like super into that shit. I mean, like this one time is apocryphal, I must say, but
Charlize Theron.
I was gonna say Charlie Sheen and Coke.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
But that happened one time in my life, and it was a sad time because there was dancers, hookers, and a cable through which this story was spun, and the threads of fate just couldn't even pull us together.
Are you talking about 3.5 Men again?
I haven't really seen that
Your
show.
favorite cable network show?
I haven't really seen that show, to be honest, but I hear it's pretty funny.
No, it's not.
Until he left.
No, it's not funny at all.
And then they brought in Sheldon from The Big Bang.
Did they?
I don't know.
John Parsons?
I'm making this up, to be honest.
I thought they brought in Ashton Kutcher.
Oh yeah, see, I remembered something about that, and then I made something up, but it was actually true. This is Unconscious Thoughts.
Whoa, just like the title of this episode.
Live on We Need to Talk.
Jinx, you owe me a soda. Can't talk until you get me a soda.
I think we were twins once, because...
oh, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito in the hit movie Twins?
I don't know movies.
It's a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito are twins.
Why?
Because that's an amazingly comical concept.
Isn't Twin Peaks a movie too?
Twin Peaks is a TV show, I believe.
Is it about politics?
I don't know. I've never seen what it is. But then there's this one, you know, the Archie comics?
Yeah.
There's a TV show about that now. But it's like dark and gritty and like modernized.
It sounds kind of dumb.
From what I heard, it's really, really good.
Oh, in one case, it's really, really good.
Oh, now we know.
From what I've heard.
I'm glad we talked. Is this the last episode of Do We Need to Talk? Wait, that's not the name of the show. Is this the last episode of Do We Need to Talk? Oh, I almost got it wrong again. Find out next time on We Need to Talk.
We came, we saw, we talked.
This show made no sense.
But what did you talk about? I don't know. We haven't heard from you yet. That's why you need to get at us at twitter.com/WNTT1.
Oh, good one. I forgot all about our Twitter because I was too busy on our Facebook page. We Need to Talk show.
Also, don't we have like other friends like TPC Network?
We are now a part of the TPC Network, and we're actually partnered with quite a few different podcasts, different shows. We've done a lot of stuff with the Detroit Podcast Network, Podcast Network Detroit, I think it's called, ironically. And they're fantastic. But TPC Network, tons of different podcasts on there. They're launching a new site very, very soon. And we also have some sponsors. Hot sponsors. Hot from the oven. Here they are. Just play some sponsored ads.
Whatever, gets sponsor stuff yet.
I'm sorry, do that one again. We need to thump.
I don't think you've ever really gotten me like on the intro.
Gotten your laugh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like break, like this break.
Just break. Break. That was like the most nonsensical opening we've ever done.
This has been a TPC Network podcast. For more shows like this, go to tpcnetwork.com/podcasts.